That's a loaded question, because you actually have to do a lighting analysis room by room and work out what you're doing. For example, in a typical lounge room, I like a simple oyster light in the centre of the room with a compact fluorescent in it running 15 or 20 watts. That's fine. And maybe for mood lighting or ambient lighting, especially if you don't want floor lamps because you've got kids around, then I would be putting in sconces on the walls again with compact fluoros in there. If I was doing task lighting, for example over a kitchen bench or somewhere like that, then I would be looking at GU10 ceiling fittings, in-ceiling fittings, in possibly a box arrangement with compact fluorescents, 9 or 11 watt compact fluorescents in there, and once they warm up they're as bright as halogens for most task lighting, which is what I did in my house. The most effective heating and cooling is the one that heats the room faster, as fast as it can, and then switches off. Electric heating is not a good idea in a lot of cases because it's going to get more expensive to run in the future. Gas heating is, if you've got natural gas heating, yes, that's and you can use those energy efficient ones in the zoned rooms that you live in. That's fine. In my case, in my house, we didn't have natural gas. Electric heating was out of the question. LPG heating was out of the question because it's too expensive. We ended up putting a pellet fire in, which is a wood fire which uses compressed pellets of sawdust, and that is an extremely efficient burn and a really good heater to work with. So it's horses for courses. You've got to look at the site, you've got to look at the rooms, and then work out what is the best way of heating the place. One interesting one was a house that had a 45-year-old off-peak electric hot water service in the ceiling, and when I measured the temperature at the kitchen tap it was 83 degrees, which is way too hot. You can imagine how much electricity he was using to bring it up to that temperature. Often I see gas furnaces, gas storage heaters set to 65, 70, 73 degrees. So as soon as any cold water goes into the thing, the gas burner fires off to bring it up to that temperature, and which is not needed because you end up putting too much cold in the to bring it down to about 55 degrees, which is comfortable for hands anyway. The other thing is lazy plumbers who don't lag pipes. I did one house where I measured the temperature at the relief valve and it was 63 degrees. So I measured it at the kitchen tap and it was 42 degrees because it had a run straight through the ceiling and it wasn't insulated, and lost 21 degrees in temperature. That's a waste of energy. Yes, it's slated for May 2011. Canberra already do it. Queensland is bringing it in January, I believe. It's already gone through Parliament. They're doing a self-assessment. Canberra have a different system which requires an inspector to come in and do an inspection and give an energy rating. What the rest of the states are going to do is still up in the air, so we don't know what's happening. But yes, every dwelling offered for sale or lease in Australia in May 2011 onwards will have to have an Energy Star rating done on it. There are several things that you can do to minimise the standby power. One is you can put a smart power board, which is typically good for behind entertainment units, where you have a board that looks like a power board. You have a master power point in it, and the rest are slaves. And when you turn the TV off at the front panel, rather than on your remote, it senses the power drop and switches the rest of the board off, so it drops everything off standby. Another one is a remote controlled power point, which actually can sit down there, controlling. You plug your appliances into that, and then you have a single button, which when you hit that button, you can switch all those power points off remotely, and then you know all your standby power's gone. And typically, I set an energy meter up in my house, and I noticed it was costing me 7 cents a day to run just before I left the house. I went and turned off 3 o'clock radios, and I turned the stove off at the mains, and it dropped to 6 cents an hour. So 3 o'clock radios and a clock in my stove was costing me 24 cents a day. So that adds up. 24 cents times 365 days, be up $100. And that was only a small example. Think about how many things people have on standby. The other thing is large televisions, especially plasmas. You get a big 50-inch plasma TV and it will pull the same amount of power as 2 heat lamps in your bathroom. And people think, okay, we'll go LCD, but again, LCD TVs are getting up there. They will pull 42 or 46-inch LCD, I've analysed lately, are pulling 350 watts an hour. So if you've got it on for 4 hours, then it's equivalent to running a kettle for half an hour. I'm not sure. LED will be cheaper to run. They're more expensive to buy at the moment, but don't buy such a big TV. Buy a 32-inch LCD and you'll have a reasonable power consumption. As soon as you get higher up, because they're still working on the technology to get the larger screen sizes in LCD, the power costs are getting up closer to plasma. So a 46-inch LCD will pull the same amount of power as a 32-inch or a 36-inch plasma.